Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on how to replace a front wheel hub on a 2004 Ford Ranger. So if you want to learn how to do that, stay tuned. As you can see, the first thing I'm going after is that caliper. Got 2 bolts on the back to take the whole caliper off. And then I'll recommend that you, once you take it off, you hang it up on something hard or a bungee cord. That way the brake hose does not have any troubles, does not have any tension on it. I like to break them loose first, then go back with an electric ratchet. That way I'm not just sitting there cranking. You can also put a flathead in between the caliper and compress the pistons before you take it off. That way it's easier to put back on in the installation phase. You can see I'm doing that here. I'm compressing the caliper pistons just so that they go over the rotor nice and easy. And then I have a metal bar already set up, and I'm going to hang the caliper on that up and out of my way. Then from there, you're going to remove the rotor. Then you're going to take your wheel speed sensor off. It's important not to forget that, because on these models, if you do forget it, you will break it. So you have, I think, 3 or 4 clips you got to get off from the frame and from the strut. One of them is a 8mm bolt right on the back of the strut, or on the steering knuckle, I mean. And then it plugs right up underneath your front cover. So unplug that, and then you're going to move on to the actual wheel hub portion. So as you can see here, I'm going to use a little bit of heat. I already tried getting this bolt out and it was pretty stuck. I like to take the 3 bolts off before I take my axle nut off. It doesn't really matter which way you do it in. But as you can see here, I'm going to crank, break it loose, make it move a little bit so that I can go back with my electric ratchet. Like I said, I don't like to crank. I like to do it with power. Then I'm going to take my axle nut off and I'm going to hammer it until that seizing and that rust breaks loose and that wheel hub just pops right out, as you can see right here. And then once that happens, I'm going to tap on that axle really softly. Normally you want to use a punch in the middle of it. This one wasn't seized at all though, so it just moved. Then you're going to pop that out of there, put your wheel hub on the ground, move your axle out of the way enough for you to clean rust and any debris that's on your steering knuckle surface up. It's not necessarily imperative to do this. I've seen guys that skip it and don't do it at all. I like to do it to clean that mating surface up. You got to remember your wheel hub is going to sit flat against that surface, so if there's debris, if there's buildup, it's going to cause it to move. It's going to cause it to sit funky or sit with the forward out like a 1/4 inch, and that will change your alignment. So I like to clean it up, put a little anti-seize on there, think about the next guy, be nice to the next guy, keep the alignment the exact same. And when you're putting it all together, you don't have to force it and use the bolts to pull it. You can just stick it in there and set it, because it all slides together nice. Something I forgot to mention is I like to take a little wire brush and clean up the splines of the CV axle as well. Just makes it a lot easier to put everything together. Throw a little anti-seize on there as well. Then I'm going to go through with my electric ratchet, and I'm not going to tighten them all the way down. I'm going to go through in like a sequence, start at the top, then go to the corners until they're pulled fully tight, all of them, before I tighten them down. Just so that way I can tighten it down the same way I would in a wheel, like in a star pattern. That way it tightens nice and flush, nice and flat to your steering knuckle. So you can see I'm doing that here. I like to use the electric ratchet. You can also use an air ratchet, or you can get a 3/8 impact in there. You can use that as well. Then afterwards, I'll go back through and tighten these the rest of the way down. You should technically torque them. They're, I think, 120 foot-pounds, or 80 to 120, somewhere in there. In this case, I just made sure they were really tight with some Loctite on there. I definitely should have torqued them, but live and you learn. So then from there, after you tighten them up, get them locked down where you like them, you're going to put your wheel speed sensor back on, you're going to put your rotor back on, you're going to put your caliper back on, tighten all that up, and then once your rotor and your caliper is back on, you can stick a flathead screwdriver between the rotor and the caliper right inside of the slots, and that will hold your wheel from spinning when you torque your axle nut down. It's imperative to torque your axle nut down, because that actually is what sets the preload of your bearing. So if you just impact it on there, it will not be correct, and you will ruin that bearing much faster than it should, and it'll make for an unhappy customer. So yeah, these torque down to 187 foot-pounds, and there you go.